today I'm here with a friend and neighbor, Rachel Rosen, and she's going to tell us all about what she does, which is amazing, amazing work. So thank you for meeting with me. And tell us about just the overall work that you do and how it's broken up into your different sparks.
Yeah. So, hi everyone, I'm Rachel Rosen. I actually just recently moved back from Oakland, from the Bay Area, but I grew up in Texas, so I'm returning back to my roots, and it's been a powerful journey so far. I, a couple years ago, developed an experience called Spark, which is a team-building, inclusive game. And it really just, it's, if you imagine Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity or Go Fish, kind of a similar community style game. For me, my background is in leadership and team development. I studied organizational development at Stanford, and I have always been fascinated with what brings people together, especially across difference. And so with my background, I was just like, all right, let me throw this together, especially with teaching background. In my heart, I'm an educator. I've worked in education for 12 years. So I created this game and threw it up on Kickstarter with this idea and a commitment to prototype every month. And we facilitated like weekly gatherings, monthly gatherings, depending on the month. And the community was really a part of what made it so awesome. And so after a year of prototyping and passing the Kickstarter with record time, we developed this game. And I wasn't ready. Like, I had no idea what was going to happen. I just knew that this was the summer of 2016, and I knew that something was changing in the social political landscape and that people needed more tools to engage across difference in conversations about race, about our experience, our values. And it's personal, right? It's my partner's an African-American woman. We're constantly translating and code switching depending on where we are and the context that we're in. And so I just feel like at the end of the day, I wanted more tools and more resources for people to have so that we can build more bridges and break down the barriers that get in the way of authentic communication, you know?
Yeah, instead of just arguing. Yeah, and not listening.
Yeah,
and we've played the game, and it's really amazing. And I was able to meet some neighbors. We did it here in the neighborhood that I'd never met before, and had really great conversations about experiences. So that was really great. So awesome. I'm a fan.
Yeah, to me, there's nothing more powerful than people coming together and giving themselves permission to take conversations to a deeper realm. I believe that our stories are our biggest tools for transforming experiences, really. Like, when we give ourselves permission to slow down and really listen to each other, I think there's something really powerful that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do with this game? How do you facilitate these experiences for other people?
Yeah, so prior to creating Spark, like I said, I've been in education for a long time, and I had the gift and the privilege of working for an organization called the National Equity Project after doing almost 10 years in schools, right? So as a teacher, as a school leader in Oakland, then I went on to be a facilitator and a coach, specifically holding space for conversations, courageous conversations about race, about difference, about what it is that's getting in the way in service of like really pushing the conversation forward about what's it going to take to make sure that all kids get what they need and deserve to thrive in school. And that's a complex conversation. So I thank all of my mentors for actually allowing me to become the leader that I was over those years. And so that positioned me in a place to be like, okay, I have this product now. In addition to giving this tool to people and letting them create their own experiences, I started facilitating engagements for communities, even outside the educational realm, given the intense social political landscape. There's just been, I couldn't have expected the rise of people wanting to have more and different conversations about what it means to learn about our biases and our blind spots and to acknowledge that those things are happening. And so I started my own coaching and consulting business and running these leadership courses as I was creating, again, like prototyping and doing beta tests of what is my approach, what makes Spark unique, and the Spark acronym really is at the heart of it. And so...
and what does it stand for?
Yeah, so it was informed by some research and adult learning theory and this paper called The Art of Conversation, and Spark stands for show up. So show up authentically with our full selves. Like, I think that we can sometimes put on masks or like filter what we're saying depending on who we're with, and I think that's actually at the root of some of the problems when we're in cross-race, cross-cultural connections. So show up authentically. The P is pause. Pausing and listening is probably the number one leadership strategy that I work on with my clients. Like, what does it mean to be a skillful listener? When we're strengthening bonds across difference, across identity difference, right? Intersectional difference. Listening is the most powerful way to show someone that you respect them and that you're there for them and that you hear them. People don't need to be told what their experience is. People need to be heard. So pausing and listening is, it's an art form, really. I think it's something I'll always be a work in progress on, around like, how can I really listen with empathy? Because we're all, our lizard brain is processing 1,000 things at once, and now with social media, it's like so much information is coming at us. So to really listen is a gift. So that's the P, pause. A is ask. Asking rather than assuming what someone's truth is such a profound thing when we really think about what it means to show curiosity rather than certainty. When it comes to kind of the ways, this is where unconscious bias comes in, but the ways our brains have been wired to, we've received and absorbed all these messages from the media that impact how we show up for people, and we make assumptions, and these assumptions turn into very small, what are called microaggressions. So people of color, people in the LGBTQ community experience these on a very regular basis, and they feel like jabs again and again when someone, for example, for my partner Leah, if someone asks her if they can touch her hair or if they call her like girl, it's like, let me assume what you would like to be called, or let me ask what you would like to be called rather than assume. So those are two very common examples of microaggressions that I'm trying to just start a different conversation around. How can we become more self-aware and curious rather than certain? Ask and then respect diversity. So really at the heart of respecting diversity means, and I'm a language geek because I taught Spanish and I've always taught languages, and so at the root of the word respect is to seek, and is again and again. And so if we give ourselves permission to see each other, to really see each other, and to seek out multiple perspectives. So when I find myself in a community or in a team that has homogeneity, if I look around and there are only white people and we're making assumptions about what other people's experiences are, that's a check for me. It's like a red flag to be like, who else needs to be at this table, so that we can make sure that this is really truly inclusive. It's not about saying the right thing, it's about making space for the right people to be there. And then finally the K is kindly expect messiness, put perfectionism to the side and expect things to be messy, uncomfortable, and that is probably the hardest part for a lot of people.
It's the feeling. I know I've been in a lot of conversations where people get really uncomfortable, and that's, to me, like one of the most educational pieces of it, for me personally.
Yeah, and it takes emotional intelligence, it takes skill to be comfortable with discomfort, but it's important, right? And I oftentimes talk about, let me make sure you're in there too.
I'm fine. I don't need to be. I'm like,
I think about, I just actually facilitated a big engagement yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky, about something that we're calling cultural fluency. So what does it mean to be fluent in this language of cross-cultural dialogue? And it's really a language when you think about it. It's a skill. And so any skill, any sport, any musical instrument, any athletic kind of undertaking requires skill. It requires discipline. It requires that we push past the discomfort, right?
Practice.
And
too.
practice,
Yeah.
And so I think about it that way. But it's hard to normalize that because when we're in relationship and like communication, most people don't like for communication to be difficult.
Right. No. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You want to be in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So how do you move forward with all of this? How do you keep spreading your message and your tools?
Yeah, so there are 3 different ways probably that the most, let's see, I mean, there are a lot of ways, but one of them is we have a Facebook community that is, it's like over 350 people committed to having these conversations. I host a weekly interview series with courageous leaders that are pushing conversations forward in their own communities. So the interview series is powerful, and that Facebook group as well is something that is growing by the day. I'm really active on Instagram too, so we have 3 ways of engaging with our community, and one is through the card game community. So people who are playing the game give feedback and ideas on the game. They should share pictures. Sorry, I'm still drinking my coffee.
I know, we need more coffee.
So Instagram, Spark, and then the number 4 community, Spark, and then the number 4 leadership. That's where we hold space for conversations about courageous, intentional, and inclusive leadership. And then we're developing an app for educators, which is like a whole undertaking. This is going to be
huge.
It's going to be a huge journey. But we're in the nascent phase, and we're in the initial phase of the journey where we're raising capital and we're bringing community members together. I've interviewed over 20 educators and have done focus groups, and I'm just here listening, really. I'm in the phase of listening to what it is that during these times, teachers are on the front line of probably the most extreme distress that's ever been in schools in the history of our country, in terms of the lack of safety, the gun violence, the increasing demographic shifts, and they're on the front lines. And so my heart is with the teachers these days, and so it's really going to be a tool. If you imagine like a Fitbit, but for teachers, that helps you with your emotional intelligence and helps you stay emotionally grounded and connected to your why, so that we can flex these muscles of like pushing past the discomfort and having a safe space to reflect on what our blind spots are.
That's really amazing. So people can help you with raising capital and participating in the development process?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And we'll put all that information in places where you can find her and help with those projects.
Thank you.
So
and I mean, I feel like, sorry to interrupt, I feel that because we're so new, my partner's just, here 2-3 weeks ago, we were back. And so we're really developing, this is an exciting time to be new in a community, and to be, over the past 6 or so months, we've been connecting about just kind of local ways that I can support and be a part of conversations. But I'm really looking to develop new community here, and to have communities that, we have a meetup group. We're trying to co-create what that space is going to be, but I really want to be most helpful and offer and just be a part of a community that's doing great work. So that's another thing that I welcome anybody's ideas, and also and am here now. So it's exciting to be building.
Yeah, we're so pleased to have you here. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm also excited.
Thank you. Yeah.
But I loved the game. I mean, and I want to play it even with my own family.
Yeah.
We haven't done it yet.
Okay.
But I think it would be amazing to hear those experiences just with our own family.
Yes.
And my nephew's 13.
Yeah.
And to kind of get him understanding that it's okay to have these conversations and to listen.
Yeah. I've learned the most about my nephews. I love, at our, Thanksgiving or holiday gatherings, we always play. And the cool thing about the game is every day is different. So even though the cards are the same, I learn something new about my family every time we play. And I've just heard the most insightful reflections from my 14 and 16-year-old nephews. And they're actually a part of building. We're developing a youth a whole junior edition for
Wow.
kids. I forgot to
Wow.
share that. And so if anybody in the community, both, like if you have young people, we're developing a middle, high school, elementary school deck, English as a second language deck, Spanish deck. These are all beyond me. Like, we have people who have taken responsibility, which is so inspiring. People who care a lot about these topics and who have been a part of focus groups, who have collaborated with me. Young people included. My nieces, Leah's nephews, are on the leadership team, and they're developing and designing the box. So if any kids want to offer feedback on the cards, or if they want to play the prototype edition, let me know. We want to, I believe, if this year has taught us anything, it's about the power of young people's leadership, and I think it's time to spotlight their brilliance and to let them lead the movement for equity in schools. So that's exciting.
Feeling the power to be able to do so. That's amazing.
Yeah,
You have so much in the works.
I do. Yeah, we have a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's great to be grounded now, to not be traveling as much, and to be here and to actually begin to set some roots here. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I love this series, and I'm excited to hear what people think.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely find a way for a lot of feedback.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me, and I know we'll be in touch very soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you all.